Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Budget Committee's public hearing on the budget. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. For the record, all members are present. And let's start off with the town, if we may. Really, there's only three things that we're going to discuss, which is the bottom line budget and two warrant articles, potential warrant articles. So the first one is the operating budget of $16,240,017. And with that, I'm assuming that this is when I open up the public comments, public hearing. If anyone has anything to say in regards to the operating budget, please step to the podium, state your name, address, and any concerns or any questions. Seeing none, I guess now the Budget Committee can discuss if anyone has any discussions or questions that they'd like to ask the town administrator. We will vote on this as a board. I'll probably do a roll call vote just to make it nice and clear. So anyone on the committee have any questions that they'd like to present to the town administrator? You're getting off real easy.
As I knock on wood.
Okay, well, seeing none, I will ask for a vote to recommend or not recommend by the Budget Committee. And I will start off with Brian Ward.
Yes, I recommend.
Okay, Rich Lissavoy.
I recommend.
Roger.
Recommend.
Chris.
Recommend.
Ned.
Yes, recommend.
Brian.
Recommend.
Danielle.
Recommend.
And Dan.
Recommend.
And the chair recommends. So we are 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 0. So that takes care of the operating budget. Next one is Moody Point Stormwater Upgrades Loan.
Just what this is there's some issues with the stormwater system in the Moody Point area, part of our MS4 project as well. We are going to be taking a loan of $100,000, but it'll be at the same time we'll be granted a $100,000 grant to pay back the loan from the state revolving loan fund. So there's no impact on the tax rate. Since it's $100,000, there was no need for a public hearing because state law says any bonds or notes that are issued have to be over $100,000, and since it's at $100,000, it wasn't necessary. Yeah, there's issues out there, and we're just trying to fix that. So.
Okay, so we do not need to take a vote on it?
You do. You need to recommend and not recommend because it's still a financial warrant article.
Okay,
yeah.
And we don't need to have a public hearing on it?
Nope.
Correct. Okay. So with that, has everyone? Yes. Sure.
So the grant, could you just explain what the grant is again?
Yeah, there's grants out there from ARPA that's been sitting around since the grant, and it's just going to offset the loan. It's going to pay back the loan that we're taking from the state revolving loan fund, from the clean water. I'm trying to remember which fund off the top of my head, but I believe it's through DES. So they can't grant us the grant right away.
Okay.
So we have to go get the loan approved by the voters, then come back, apply for the grant, then they'll spend the funds to do that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We did this last year with a water and sewer project as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Brian Ward.
Recommend.
Richard.
Recommend.
Roger.
Recommend.
Chris.
Recommend.
Ned.
Recommend.
Brian.
Recommend.
Danielle.
Recommend.
Dan?
Recommend.
And the chair recommends, so that goes 9-0 to recommend.
Oh, and I apologize, the council did recommend it unanimously as well.
Okay.
And
All right. The only other warrant article for the town.
actually,
Good, yeah, just on this, the wording on the warrant, can you add the statement that there will be no impact on the
we
tax
can,
rate?
yep, absolutely. And we're gonna put the vote results as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Thank you.
All set, Roger? Okay, the last one that we have for the town is the police contract. To see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the town of Newmarket and the New England Police Benevolent Association, Local 215, which represents the police employees, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. For the fiscal year 2024, the increase is $167,385. Fiscal year 2025, $70,215. Fiscal year 2026, $73,725. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $167,385 for fiscal year 2024, such sum representing the additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that will be paid at current staffing levels. If passed, it is an estimate that this article will amount to 17 cents of the tax rate.
Just, it's a 3-year deal. First year is a $3.50 increase across the board for each hourly police officer and dispatch employee. In the last 2 years of 5% increases. We're just trying to keep up with the neighboring communities and where we'd be losing officers to in the market.
Okay.
Oh, and the council unanimously recommend this as well.
Okay.
I got a question. Are we still short one officer?
I'm trying to remember if we filled that one yet. I know I can't remember off the top of my head. It could be
I guess
in or
my
out.
real
Yeah.
question is, does that impact that number at all?
No,
Or is that,
no.
that's included?
Yeah, if there's a vacancy, we estimate what a new officer would be at that time, so.
Okay. Now we need to open the public hearing for
No,
this.
no public hearing.
No public hearing?
Nope.
Okay. Any other questions from the Budget Committee? Seeing, yes, did you have one?
No, it's not really a question. It's just a statement that, Chief Jordan's been working really hard to fulfill these positions, and the monetary issue is a significant one.
And I'll say that we're much better off than a lot of communities, that we're not getting the turnover that a lot of other communities are, so. That's because of the environment at the station. And
Okay. With that, I'll call for a vote. Brian Wood?
Recommend.
Richard?
Recommend.
Roger?
Recommend.
Chris?
Recommend.
Ned?
Recommend?
Brian?
Recommend.
Danielle?
Recommend?
Dan?
Recommend.
And the chair recommends, so that also goes 9-0 from the Budget Committee.
thank you very much.
And that closes out the town. Now we will move on to the school, and let me see. We will start off with Article 2, which reads, shall the Newmarket School District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purpose set for the therein totaling $26,652,112. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $25,960,000. $943,895, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Newmarket School District or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Majority vote required. Note for warrant Article 2 is which is the operating budget does not include appropriations of any other warrant article. The total operating budget will be offset by estimated federal grants revenues of $700,000 and an estimated $421,062 in local, state, and federal child nutrition revenue, leaving a net budget of $25,531,051. The amount of $1,121,062 will not be raised by taxes. If passed, it is estimated that this article will result in an increase of $3.07 over the previous year's school tax rate of $19.78, which will result in a new estimated tax rate of $22.85. If defeated, it is estimated that this article will result in an increase of $2.36 over the previous year's school tax rate of $19.78, which will result in a new estimated tax rate of $22.14. That's a long article. Okay, with that, I will open it up for the public to comment. And seeing none, I will check with the committee and see if the committee has any questions or comments. Seeing none, I'll ask for the vote. Brian Ward?
Recommend.
Richard?
Recommend.
Roger?
Recommend.
Chris?
Recommend.
Ned?
Recommend?
Ryan?
Recommend.
Danielle? Dan?
Recommend.
And the chair recommends, so that passes 9-0. Article 3 is also a dollar amount, so that needs to be read. Article 3, shall the district vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Newmarket School Board and the Newmarket Support Staff Association, which calls for the following increase in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level over those paid in the prior fiscal year. Year 23-24, estimated increase is $284,630. Year 2024 and 2025, $86,205. Year 2025 and 2026, $74,280. And further to raise and appropriate the sum of $284,630 for the upcoming fiscal year, such sum representing the additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing level. I will open that up for public comments.
Don't forget the note underneath.
Oop, I'm sorry. Oh, note, the estimated tax impact of this article is 28 cents. With that, I will open up public comment. Seeing none, I'll open it up to the Budget Committee if there's any questions or comments.
I don't recall, so please remind me, how many employees is this affecting?
There are currently 46 members in that unit.
46?
One of the challenges we have faced, you'll notice the first year is a substantially larger sum. because we had to make some pretty significant adjustments in year one to get competitive. We started the year, I believe it was 16 paraprofessionals down from what we needed, and we spent the whole year trying to get up to speed. We're still actually down, I believe, six. So that has been a challenge, and the biggest, most common reason given was that our pay rates were not competitive with surrounding districts. So year one is a equivalent of about a 12 to 15% jump, but it's to bring us in line so we're competitive with all of our surrounding districts, and hopefully we'll be able to fully staff. I would note that I mentioned when I presented the budget to you that we also reduced the total number of paraprofessional staff that we are budgeting to kind of offset that. So that was a reduction of $120,000 on the other side.
So on average, it's about $5,000 per person the first year, but then it drops down to about 2,000 and about 1,800
Yes. Yes.
for the subsequent
So
years.
yes, so it's 12 to 15% depending on where you are in the scale of year one, and then it's 4% in year 3 and 4.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Brian Ward,
Recommend.
Richard,
Recommend.
Roger,
Recommend.
Chris,
Recommend.
Ned,
Recommend.
Brian Hickey,
Recommend.
Danielle, and Dan,
Recommend.
and the chair recommends. Vote of 9-0. All right, what else? Article 5. Shall the district vote to raise and appropriate $162,110 to be added to the School Improvement Capital Reserve Fund, previously established, and authorize the use of this amount from the June 30 fund balance available for transfer on July 1st. This amount represents part of the interest earned on temporary investment of bond proceeds that will be transferred to the general fund on June 30th, 2023. No amount to be raised from taxation. The estimated tax impact on this article is $0. I will open up for public comment. Seeing none, I'll ask the committee if, yes, Roger.
Yeah, the impact of voting for this article is 0. The impact of voting against this article is about minus 16 cents. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Because if this article is defeated, that money will be returned to the taxpayers in the form of a lower tax rate.
That's correct. Yeah, this is $162,000 that's been earned on interest from the bond for the construction, and we are reaching the end of the project when we finish the courtyard, and so we now have to just determine how to use that remaining fund. So it automatically goes back into the general fund, and unless we choose to put it in a capital reserve fund for some future building improvement, it automatically goes back to the taxpayers, yes.
Yes.
My feeling is with the increases in general in the operating budget, the increase in the labor cost with the new contract, and we find things increasing all over, that the town would be better off to have this money returned to the taxpayers in the form of a lower tax rate for the next year. Unless there is something terribly pressing that that putting this money in an improvement capital reserve fund would solve.
Is that a question? Do I respond? Okay. I mean, there are a number of capital projects that we have coming up, the completion of the playground, or the renovation of the playground at the elementary school is one, completion of the courtyard at the high school, and also continuing the replacement of the windows at the elementary school to finish that up. So there are future expenses, and in fact, you'll note on the warrant that the board had mixed feelings as well, but ultimately voted to move forward with it, because in general, we know that these expenses are coming down the road. It's not going to get cheaper to raise that money later on, and so the thought was putting it in the trust fund now to be able to use it for these immediate projects was a prudent investment. I would also point out that we are in the process, although I don't have it to hand to you right now, we are developing a 10-year capital plan that will articulate all our future needs over the next few years, which if we follow through with the projects that I just listed, it will deplete our capital funds fairly significantly. They won't be at zero by any means, but they'll be reduced significantly. And then if other things come up, it will be more challenging to fund those.
Yes.
I just wanted to know how much money is currently in the capital reserve fund, if you know off the top of your head.
I'm going to turn to Janet. Can you? I think it's in the, isn't it in the budget book? I mean, there's actually more than one, but there's at least it's like 583,000 in one of them, and 600 and something in the other. But give me a second.
There's two different there's different school improvement capital reserve funds. Right. So how is this going to be divided? Do you know ahead, or?
Janet, can you give me just a second?
Sorry. There. So the one that it's going into is the school capital. Oh, do I have to announce my name? Is that point of order or something?
No, I think you'll be good.
Anyways, that's the school capital improvement fund, and currently we have the ending balance is $639,683 as of right now, but we have $150,000 of that encumbered for the playground project, so that will reduce it by $150,000 as we close that out. So.
And then the other fund, which is I think it was the 530.
Yep.
I mentioned that one.
Yep. The school repair and maintenance trust fund. Whoops, excuse me, I got them reversed. The school repair and maintenance one is with the one with the playground. That's the one that's 639, 683, and that will be 150,000. The one that we're looking to add this to is the school improvement capital reserve fund. The balance is currently $530,791.45. Of that amount, $353,649 is encumbered for the first half of the window project and the NES electrical. So it will reduce it.
Can you repeat how much was encumbered?
$353,649. We replaced as many windows as we could. We originally thought that adequacy aid money was going to be enough to do all, but because of COVID and supply chain, we were not able to complete that project. So, but that amount is locked up. We are already obligated to pay that amount out.
So just so I'm clear, you're going to have about $157,000 left in the capital reserve fund, of which you want 162 additional to go into it, restoring that balance to about 300 and let's just call it 350,000.
Sure.
Richard?
So it's fair to say that the projects that are underway right now are adequately funded from the capital
Correct.
reserve
It's a matter of
we have
replenishing.
right
Right. It's a matter of replenishing the funds once we draw them down.
Being part of the CIP this year, it would be incredibly valuable to have that 10-year look. And if I were able to serve on that committee next year, I'd be anxious to understand that. Because what I recall this year, there wouldn't be any huge compelling reason, to replenish these funds to the extent.
Right.
Because I don't think there was anything there that
No, actually, meeting with you actually motivated us to go back and have, because you had recommended, getting a consultant to kind of help us to really facilitate that. And we're in the process of taking a look at that to try to map it out. But you're absolutely right. We can't tell you exactly what we're going to need it for over the next 10 years. We anticipate there will be needs. We just aren't there yet. And since the interest on the bond is there and
Sure.
something's going to happen with it in this next year, we were recommending that it be put in a trust fund to give us the opportunity to look at how we use it down the road.
Thank you, that answered my question.
Any other questions from the Budget Committee? Seeing none, I'll ask for the vote. Brian Ward,
Recommend.
Richard,
I would vote to not recommend.
Roger,
Not recommend.
Chris,
Recommend.
Ned,
Recommend.
Brian Hickey,
Recommend.
Danielle,
Recommend.
Dan,
Recommend.
and the chair votes not recommend, so I believe that's a 6-3. Got it right?
That's right.
Whoops. Okay, Article 6 does not look like we need to discuss. So, Article 7, shall the district vote to establish an insurance and benefit expendable trust fund under the provisions
Mike,
of
I'm
RSA 198, 7:20-C to meet the costs of unanticipated insurance and employee benefit expenses and to raise the appropriate $50,000 to be placed in this fund. This sum to come from the June 30, 2023 fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2023. Further, to name the Newmarket School Board as agents to expend from said fund. No amount to be raised from taxation. Okay, I will open public comment if anyone from the public has anything to say or any questions. Seeing none, I will open it up to the Budget Committee. Anyone from the Budget Committee? Any questions or comments?
I have a question as to what this would be used for and what would be the rules for withdrawing money from this trust fund.
I mean, basically, it's based on what happened to us this year. When we go to set our insurance, our medical health insurance rates, we're given what's called a guaranteed, or they give us an estimated rate up front. This year, they told us it would be between 8 and 10%. When the rates actually came in November, after we'd already gone through the process, it was 11.8%, which is about $41,000, around $41,000 more than we had budgeted for. And a fund like this would give us the flexibility when a cost that we can't predict for comes up. Unfortunately, one of the costs with employees is managing the benefit package, and sometimes they go up at rates that are much higher than the rest of the world. And this was just to give us that insurance. So it would give the board the ability to determine if they could absorb any additional costs and use this to offset it, so it would have minimize the impact on taxpayers.
When you go out and try to set that budget on those items, you can't get a fixed quotation?
They give us an estimate, and then there's a date in November that they give us the actual. And so in this case, they gave us, and we double, triple, quadruple checked, and they gave us 8 to 10% was the range. But when push came to shove, it was 11.8. So,
Is this a state fund or
no, this is
No,
our
private
private
insurance?
company. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
The only comment I'm going to make on that, if you don't mind, is that it's not unusual that insurers will establish a rate at the beginning and then they'll audit it and come up with a final rate once they've experienced, what the cost basis is. Case in point, in our business, transportation insurance is priced out, but it's always based on what your sales are, and that is taken at the end of the year. So once you've got your real sales, they go back and they take a look at it, they audit it, and they charge you more if it's necessary, or they give you a refund.
Thank you, Chris.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Brian Ward,
Recommend.
Richard,
Recommend.
Roger,
Recommend?
Chris,
Recommend.
Ned,
Recommend.
Brian Hickey,
Recommend.
Danielle,
Recommend.
and Dan,
Recommend.
and the chair recommends, so that is a 9-0 vote. I just noticed, looks like you have 2 Article 7s. Did you notice that? You have Article 7, which I just read.
Mine has Article 8.
I don't,
I have
I don't have to.
Okay, all right, I'm working
Maybe
off the draft.
I gave you a
so-
bad copy. I got from expert advice from Mr. Fournier, we probably should talk about Article 6, just because it's an article to basically, there are 2 trust funds that are no longer needed, and we're basically asking to drain the money out of it, put it in the general fund. So that it's a small amount, but because it does involve money, I would appreciate if you would discuss it.
Okay,
Spender situation that if you vote to recommend, not recommend, it's not gonna hurt.
Right.
But rather do it now than have to come back later.
okay. All right, so I will read Article 6. Shall the district vote to discontinue the following CRF/trust funds? Said funds and accumulated interest to date of withdrawal are to be transferred to the municipality's general fund. The expansion of the school trust fund, the balance estimate is $149.07? Okay.
These are big
Just
numbers.
want to make sure I wasn't missing some zeros. School construction and renovation fund, the balance is $100.32. I guess this is a budget committee item only. So with that, does the budget committee have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Brian Ward?
Is this recommend or an aye? Or?
Yeah, it's basically the same way.
Yeah, okay, recommend.
Okay, Richard?
Recommend.
Roger?
Recommend.
Chris?
Yeah, I'll recommend. But this is like having money just to keep the account open.
Ned?
Recommend.
Brian Hickey?
Recommend.
Danielle?
Recommend.
Dan?
Recommend.
And the chair recommends. So that is 9-0. With that, I believe we have covered the requirements of the Budget Committee's public hearing. Do we have a date for the deliberative session?
Yes, February 4th, Saturday. We're actually meeting tomorrow at 11 to determine the order of who's going first. I believe it's... Hey, I have no problem because we can get out of here quick. But we're going to meet with the moderator tomorrow.
Okay.
So just
we can figure it out right now.
yeah, to finalize it. It's failed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll finalize it tomorrow, but
Okay.
it's February 4th.
That will be held at the...
Here. Yep.
Right here.
Yep.
And the Budget Committee is to attend?
Yep.
Yes. So if you can all put that on your calendar, please. And we don't need to do anything else?
You guys,
Budget
we'll have documents for you to sign.
Yeah.
So we'll email you to come in and sign the MS forms.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that,
And the school will do the same, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
we'll try to get it so once they're done, we'll have it in the same spot. You can do it both at the same time.
Okay.
Good.
All right. I didn't really create an agenda because I figured we'd be all set. But the only thing we've got left to do, and I have not passed them out, is we have the minutes from our last meeting. We tentatively have a meeting scheduled for January 30th on the calendar. Do we want to do that and come in and clean up our minutes before, because we probably won't have a meeting in February. After the deliberative session, we'll wait until the next Budget Committee comes in. So do we want to hold that meeting in place to come in and approve the minutes and discuss anything else that we may need to? Would we like, I mean, I can't really see a reason for the town or the school to come at that point, because everything is kind of like,
I mean, just a 6-month update of expenditures for the current fiscal year, but
Yeah.
Could that be done by, distributed to us in any case?
oh yeah,
This 6-month?
Yeah.
I don't, I
okay?
mean,
And, I mean, I don't think we need to require anyone from the school or the town to show up at the meeting. We can just discuss it and can forward any questions that we have to the appropriate source. So do we want to hold that meeting for 6:30 on the 30th?
and so that would be after the deadline for petition warrants, just in case one came in, right?
tomorrow is the deadline.
Okay. And then I already know the answer to this. If the deliberative session amends any of the warrants, do we have to vote again?
You have to change, you can if you wish to change
Okay.
your recommendation.
That's why we need to be at the deliberative session, correct?
Yeah, or you can do it immediately after. You have a set number of days.
Okay. So, anyone opposed to the January 30th meeting? All right, we'll hold it. It'll be a short agenda. I will forward any information that we receive from the school or the town, and we'll get the minutes approved and cleaned up and have things fresh for the next budget session. With that, I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Roger with the motion, Ned with the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone.